friends. Well, I have decided I want to make some eco-dyed paper. Now you guys know that I love to dye paper, and I just noticed that my Don Juan rose bush was in full bloom, and I thought, I'm gonna cut some of these off and experiment with them. I have never used plants in any eco dyeing that I've done. The only eco dyeing I've done, I've used like tea, and I've used hibiscus tea and some other teas. But this will be the first time that I'm actually using plants, flowers, and I'll use the leaves as well. So thank you for joining me, and hang in there so we can see what happens with these beautiful roses. So I've brought everything inside, and I have to confess that I didn't really watch a lot of instructions on this. I read parts of an article, and so I'm kind of winging it. That's really how I do most things. I find that winging it is really actually more fun for me. So that's what we're doing. So I'm going to go ahead and clip more away from the heavy stems. So I'm just removing the tops of the flowers and removing the leaves. And as you can see, I'm in my kitchen doing that, and I'm just setting them aside. The article that I read said to use water, vinegar, and some sort of chemical, and I'm not going to use a chemical. So I'm using water and vinegar. And the first thing I am doing is I'm removing some of the petals from the roses, and I'm going to put those in the water, and I'm warming the water up on the stove. I'm not really making it super hot. I just wanted to warm it up. The article didn't say to do that. Like I said, I'm winging most of this, but I just wanted to warm it up because I felt like maybe I could get some of the red from the petals into the water, and then I'd have some pink water. The next thing I'm doing is I've got my tray out, as you can see, and I'm going to be using a combination of white paper and pink paper, just because I kind of want to see what happens. So I'm taking my petals that were in the water and vinegar solution, basically, that's warm, but obviously you can see it's not so hot that I can't pick those petals out of the pot. So that's what I'm doing. I'm taking them out and I'm just placing them on the paper. I'm being kind of strategic about this. As I learn to do eco dyeing, I might end up just, flopping them on there and having it be what it is. But since it's my first time, I'm kind of laying them on there, in a pattern, just because I want to see what's going to happen. I will be creating layers. So I'll have paper, and then I'll put the petals and leaves on, and then another sheet of paper, and so on and so forth. I'm pretty sure that's how we're supposed to do it. So that's what I'm doing. All right, I've got a few layers in there. Now I'm gonna try something new and different for me anyway. I've put an entire rose in the pot face down. I'm just warming it up a little bit. And while that rose is kind of warming up in the water, I am going to take some aluminum foil and put it on top of the papers that I already have layered in that pan. And then I'm going to lay some books on top of that. I use the aluminum foil just to keep the books from getting moist. I don't want to ruin them. So that's what I've got going on there. I feel like those are sufficiently flattened out. So now I'm going to remove the aluminum foil, take a little peek. It's looking exciting in there. And now I'm going to add this rose. I'm going to go ahead and clip the leaves, and I'm going to try to get as much of that bulby part of the rose off of there. But I know that I won't be able to get the whole thing, and I don't want to disassemble like the rose. So you'll see later on when I show you what happens with this is the paper does get a little bit perforated, but believe it or not, it's not terrible. So I've put the books back on to try to put a little pressure on there. Now I am layering more leaves, and I'm just gonna keep making my eco-dyed lasagna here. Now I'm ready to layer another rose on top, but this time I'm going to do it just a little bit different. I'm going to see if I can take a little bit more of like that bulby part off. I'm laying it here in the center of the paper, as you can see, and I'm actually going to pull some of the petals away from it a little bit, but still connected to it, because I'm hoping that the print will end up being like a giant flower. And now I'm going to add a piece of paper over top of that, and then the tin foil, and then I'm going to put those books back on. And then believe it or not, I end up putting that tray on the floor, and I end up standing on those books just to smush everything down. Now again, remember, I'm experimenting. I'm not telling you guys that this is how you do it. I'm just sharing with you what I did. So I'm not telling you to stand on books in your kitchen on top of your wet flowers. You know what I'm saying? All right, take it easy. Now I've got another tray going. I did not want to waste any of these beautiful flower petals. I just absolutely love that rose bush. It makes the most beautiful flowers. And you know, I even always hate cutting them off. So I'm going to use every single petal. By the way, some of the water, vinegar water I should say, in the pot did end up turning a very light pink. So it pulled some of the color out of the petals. And so I'm going to end up pouring it right on top of this new tray that I have going on here. Now I want to apologize in advance for the second part of this video. I'm outside, I'm holding my camera. It's actually my phone. I don't usually record with my phone. Anyway, I'm trying to show you what I'm doing outside, and I'm moving around a little bit, so I'm hoping that you won't feel seasick. But I wanted to kind of dry the papers in the sun a little bit and pull the leaves off and just take a look. I apologize for the shadow that's going on here. But anyway, I just kind of wanted to show you this part of the process that I did as well. So this part is pretty exciting because I'm starting to peel the papers back and kind of see what I've got here. And I'm finding them to be absolutely beautiful. You know, everything is pinkish or lavender, and the imprints definitely come through. And so I was so excited about this part because this is the first time I've ever done this, and I am really happy with these results. Just look at that when I start taking those leaves off of there, and it's just printed onto the paper. I absolutely love it. I was very, very excited. So here are the results. I have to tell you, I loved doing it. It was new, it was experimental, and I don't know if I told you in the beginning of the video, but some people use a chemical when they eco-dye, and I didn't use that chemical. All I used was water and vinegar. So I just wanted to let you know that. So I want to flip through these papers so that you can see how this came out. First of all, this page I am completely impressed with. Just look at it. I mean, that's pretty amazing. Now, because you saw in the video how I squished down on that rose, there's a little bit of a buckle in the paper here, but who cares? Look at that. It's amazing. So here we go. So here is one that I used just the rose petals on. And actually I do see a leaf mark, so maybe the leaf was on, when I stacked them, was on this side, but then the rose petals were like on this side. So here's one, was rose petals, but it also looks like there was some bleed through from one of the big roses that I put in the center. This is one with more of the petals. Now, keeping in mind that this was very experimental for me, this was the first time I had ever done it. So I learned a lot from it. There's some things I would do different and maybe some things that I would do the same. I have to say, all in all though, I'm very happy with it. Here's another one with the rose in the center. It's kind of fascinating actually to create these eco dyes because you just don't know how they're gonna come out. Look at this. I mean, look at the leaves. It's really fascinating. Again, we've got a little bit of a, I guess it's a little bit of a tear right here in the center. I think still worth it for the results. I mean, I just look at these leaf imprints. I'm gonna have to do some more of that. So this one's interesting. This has a lot of like purple in it. I don't know, green really, purple and green. It's not quite as defined, although on this side I do see some leaves. I mean, I do see leaves here. Yeah, I do see them. They're just kind of maybe a little more muted than on some of the other ones. I have no idea what happened here. This one like literally tore. I have no idea what happened. I must have been really hard on it or something. I don't know. But I could use a lot of it. Like I could cut out this leaf part. Look at this. I hope you can see. I hope the camera is picking it up. Anyway, it's fascinating. So I think this is the first page. I don't know if you remember, but I pressed the flower down and then I pulled some of the petals out wider. So that's what we've got here. That's what you see. Have no idea where the blue purple comes from. It was a deep, deep rose. It's a Don Juan rose actually. So maybe it came from that. I would just assume that, but I don't really know. And this was, so these must have been sandwiched on top of each other because, and this one's got a little bit of a perforation in the paper. Oh my gosh, they're just so unique. This is so well defined, all these leaves. I'm not sure why some of them are super well defined and then the other ones are a little bit more muted, but they're just so unique. I have to say this is the most impressive one and I'll share with you why. This one came out so defined because it was on the top of the pan and then when I took the pan outside I wanted to like have the sun hit it. The sun and the air, I think the combination of that just really did something to it and made it very rich in color. So I hope you enjoy my eco dyes as much as I do. I haven't decided if I'm listing them or not. Maybe I'll make some copies of them and turn them into digital prints because I will never be able to repeat this again. There, you know, every time you do something like eco dye, it is its own thing and it is unusual and you're never going to repeat it exactly. So maybe some of my favorites in here, I'll go ahead and scan them and turn them into digital kits. Plus, then they won't have, like if there was a hole in the paper, we wouldn't have to worry about that. So thanks for watching. See you soon.